Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And this time I'll be playing Gamedec Blind. Now, this is an RPG game based on a series of Polish books but by the same title. And you could say I'm somewhat of a fan of like the first three. They are a rather classic cyberpunk kind of story, although they delve a little more into like psychology and philosophy. I think those are things that the author must enjoy because he employs them quite a lot in his stories. As well as there are some interesting political machinations going on in the book, but I think it makes no sense, and there's no point in trying to recall like the story of the books or whatever, because I don't think this game is an adaptation. It's an expansion of the story of the books. It just takes place in the same universe. So without further ado, let me start a new game. Not new content, but rather a new game.
It's a strange profession, Gamedec. You're neither a player nor a detective. You know the rules and how people break them. How they leave a digital trail. And there is always a trail. A flaw in the source code. Backdoors used by cheaters. Anonymity skins, used to cover up unpopular activities. All can be found. All can be traced. With a lot of skill and a little bit of luck. Sometimes more than a little. Because there are surprises, even for a game deck. But in the end, you keep your eyes on the prize. This is my story. What's yours?
So as the intro rather succinctly put it, a game deck is basically a detective who solves cases, mysteries and like problems in virtual space, as opposed to the sort of real physical space. Because in the world of this universe, games and like virtual content is advanced enough that it's actually and it includes full sensory perception. So some people view it as a legitimate alternative to actual real existence. They spend basically their entire lives in there, so they have similar sorts of problems as people do in the real world that would require a help of a detective, but it has an additional twist in that it's inside a computer program, so you need a specific sort of skill set to navigate that. I can use a character preset, or I can create my own character. I think I will create my own character, and I think he will be the dreadfully boring default white guy. So, origin. Low City is an unofficial name, as is High and Mid City. It's usually used to describe the layer of the polis where you start seeing aura cars flying around, and where it gets really dark. The inhabitants of Low City often work strange jobs that usually involve night shifts. They don't care if they work during the day or night, as their circadian rhythm is completely off. Darkness lingers in the Low City. In most districts, the artificial suns and sky windows stopped working a long time ago, and no one wants to repair them. So I can live in the Low City or in the High City, the unofficial name for the highest levels of the polis. High cities feature walking platforms, flying junks, and the densest network of new mobile routes. it becomes customary to believe that high cities end at the level where the highest reaching routes of the public transportation tubes are located. I think it is going to be more interesting if I come from the low city. Like, it's much of a more of a gritty, dark setting, and it's also more foreign, sort of, because, you know, it's so low in like the infrastructure that it's basically like living underground. You know, it talks about it being there being artificial suns to provide illumination, because obviously you're at the bottom of this huge pile of skyscrapers, and the rich people above you are like shitting on you. Sometimes probably literally. Values: self-direction, stimulation, hedonism, achievement, power, security, conformity, tradition, benevolence, universalism. Okay, I will go with benevolence, because usually it seems to give me specific bonuses to specific attributes, such as a huge bonus to empathy, compassion, and pacifism here. Usually when I play a game for the first time, I like to go for sort of more diplomatic kind of character who tries to solve conflicts non-violently. My Gamedec's name will be Matthew... whatever. Actually, let it be literally Matthew whatever. I doubt it's going to matter, you know. Usually in games, they don't refer to you as your name anyway. They just call you some nondescript, you know. Here it's probably going to be Gamedec. Okay, let's go. Okay, select the game mode, normal mode, take the case, look for clues, look for witnesses, go back, look for different clues, use different words, solve cases by trial and error, nothing can get past you, never look back, work your case your own way and don't concern yourself with what ifs. Take responsibility of your choices and walk your own path. But game only saved between levels. This seems to mostly indicate whether I'm allowed to save scum, which I am not going to do anyway. And the lack of the ability to save whenever I want is annoying to me. I find that to be a game design point that's borderline disrespectful towards the player, because obviously if you're an adult person, you need the ability to close the game at the moment's notice because something crops up, you know, something that's much more important and real than you playing the game. And if I don't have the ability to save, I am going to lose progress sometimes, but I will choose this because it seems to be like the intended way to play the game, and I'm worried that certain things might get skipped or altered if I don't choose this, so let's choose the true detective mode, I guess. Okay, the first thing the game has done is crash, so that's, you know, not a great sign. I didn't remember why I had become a Gamedec. At some point, the dialogue options, see the conversation history. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. At some point, I must have decided it was a reasonable way of making money. Then I just got used to it. Okay, I can recall my career, which maybe it'll give me some choice and consequence that's going to sort of, as I recall it, I as a player am going to choose what my past was, so that might be interesting. I guess let's do that. Recall your career. I solved numerous cases, so people started to believe I was credible, and credibility was crucial in my line of work. Pretty much everything can be falsified, but you can't fake credibility. Games, besides being my workplace, also became my second home. Did I ever play for fun? Yes, sometimes I did. Look around. I was surrounded by the real world, that is, Realium. I could hear Warsaw City humming outside the window. I lived in Towerstone in Wola. Now, this is interesting and kind of annoying to me, because the game, much as the book, technically takes place in futuristic Poland, but due to the specific things that happened sort of politics-wise, it doesn't really mean anything, because so many sort of socio-political changes have happened that there isn't even a Poland anymore, and the city is sort of unrecognizable. What I would like, what I think would be cool, if there were some actual landmarks from Warsaw, but recreated in a futuristic sense. But I don't think that's going to happen. As far as I remember in the book, outside from the name, you couldn't tell it was Warsaw, because obviously it was so changed. And even the people, famously, the protagonist of the game, of the book, he's called Torkil Aimor, which is an absolutely insane kind of name. And that, again, is something that owes to the sort of socio-political changes that happened in the history of the world, depicted in the book, where it's all sort of multicultural, sort of mishmash. You can't really recognize, outside from the name, it might have as well been any other city. It was the end of the 22nd century, and the people were crazy happy. Kidding. Some were, some weren't. Which group did I belong to? I wasn't sure. Start your day. It was time to check if there were any new jobs. Okay, look anywhere, use tab to adjust movement speed, left click to interact. Some interaction icons are always visible, others only appear when the circumstances are right. For example, you're near them. Okay. Oh, I can use WSD to move. That's cool. I prefer that over clicking. A jukebox, my latest purchase. Well, what was I playing? Resume playback. Warsaw City, my police. Walkways, squares, space and chasms. That's what a modern city looks like. The middle layer, mid-city. Despite dense developments, you could still see the sun and pieces of the sky, as well as the long way down. But wait, weren't I supposed to come from the low city? I guess at this point I'm already sort of middle class, I've gotten somewhat up from the low city. I guess it's decent compared to the people who live below and never actually see the sun. It's nice enough. I felt a connection with the people above and below. I could hear the transit tubes, new mobiles, the humming ads. It was never quiet. This was where the rich met the poor, and light met darkness. A place where you could be pretty much whoever you wanted to be, and where advertising drones peeped through people's windows looking for new victims. Oh, there's specific interaction that I could have used if I chosen a different path, different life path, with different skills. Contemplate. I had a few things I needed to think over. You can't really contemplate without a drink in your hand. Luckily, the servobot knew exactly what I needed. The server industry's logo has slightly faded away, but but the servobot, as usual, patiently awaited instructions. Seeing how I have just woken up, let it be coffee. That some dialogue options are available only if you have the right profession. Yeah. The dark beverage of the gods. I could choose from the cheap synthetic stuff and ground beans, which obviously costs more. Yeah, probably I'm not doing that great financially, so let's go for a less expensive option. I decided to go with a budget option. It's still made for human consumption after all. I decided to think some stuff over and get to work. What about recent events? Some had been talking about the Pygmalion technology developed by Blue Whales Interactive. It upgraded AI levels to the level of the human psyche. Recent gossip: a man named Ken Zhu, a young Goodabad star, screwed up in his last game, and his Black Angels lost. What about that Pygmalion technology? The BWI claimed they could create human beings, obviously for a hell of a price. Such humans are called diginets. A diginet has a synthetic brain, but a Rendan, but no body. It lives online unless you buy it a Mobrium. There were demonstrations at the company's location against this technology. The protesters claimed that the diginets were unnatural. Yeah, you could probably already kind of tell, and if not, you will be able to tell soon. This world is very heavy with neologisms. It throws a lot of terms at you, and I don't mind it that much. When I read the book, it wasn't top on my list of complaints. Let's just say that. But I understand how that might be distracting or kind of annoying. Now, I do think, I guess the question is posed wrong, because for me, whether those are unnatural things is irrelevant, because I don't agree that, that being natural is something good necessarily in the first place. In fact, it's something called it's an actual philosophical sort of concept that has been talked about a lot. It's something called the natural error, or the natural mistake, or the natural fallacy. I'm going to link the relevant term. I don't have it in English, because obviously I learned my philosophy in Polish, so most of the terms were sort of translated, but it's this sort of fallacy form of thinking where you equivocate nature with something that's necessarily good, and therefore things that go against nature are necessarily bad. But obviously that makes no sense, because most of modern human civilization, and you could say the idea of civilization itself, is quote-unquote unnatural, because no other animal other than humans has done something like this. The fact that we live in houses and not in caves is quote-unquote unnatural. The fact that we wear clothes and not run around naked is quote-unquote unnatural. Whereas, for example, a whole lot of things are natural, quote-unquote, but we understand them as bad. For example, murder is entirely natural, Other animals, other than humans, they don't have the concept of laws, so, from our point of view, every killing that animals do is unlawful and therefore some form of murder. They do it all the time, they, technically speaking, kind of rape each other all the time as well, and, there are a lot of things that are entirely natural. Dying from horrible diseases is entirely natural, but nobody says it's good. So I think this question is pointless, but I have a feeling what those people are saying is exactly this. It's unnatural and therefore bad. And while I might agree it's unnatural that we've created synthetic human beings, I don't care. Natural or unnatural are not sort of qualities of things that I care about. It's a meaningless distinction. So I would say the protesters are wrong, because for me there is no moral difference between a synthetic human and an organic human. Once they are close enough that you can't tell the difference, if it were not for the hardware, I see them as people, and I think they should be treated as such. The protesters are wrong. A company introducing such risky tech must have tested it in 1,000 of ways, otherwise it wouldn't have put its reputation on the line. The protesters were a bunch of ignorant people afraid of progress. I wasn't going to waste time on them. What about... Oh, but I can't think about that other guy, Kenzu, the good avatar? That's annoying. What about the sensory worlds, which are games? Thousands of games and millions of players mean plenty of cases for a game deck. Hatred, greed and deviousness are especially common online. Two topics have been especially popular in the media recently: digital love and whether it's better to live online or in the realium. What about digital love? I took a sip. The opponents of online relationships have a simple argument. The beautiful prince you fell in love may be a fraud. And it might not even be human, it could be an NPC. Supporters of online romance respond with, so what? These days, you may have an online partner and never meet them in the realium. What difference does it make what they really look like? Yeah, I generally agree, but that's because I'm not a person who's very fixated on physicality. In fact, I have once fallen in love with a person whom I have not seen. Like, I've seen her later, but I've already become sort of infatuated with her without ever seeing her. And seeing her later didn't change that. Like, it didn't destroy it for me. Even though she wasn't necessarily, like, she wasn't ugly by any stretch. She was a pretty woman, but she wasn't like sort of a personification of my physical ideal. But the thing is, it didn't matter to me because I connected with her on like an emotional and intellectual level. So I think I have nothing against digital love. A dirty old man pretends to be a pretty girl. Is he a fraud? No, he is a pretty girl. He always wanted this, and it's possible online. What? What are you talking about? What kind of nonsense, non sequitur argument is that? That's not what I wanted to say. I do think catfishing is wrong. I do think identity fraud is wrong. What I was trying to defend was the very concept of having a relationship online, not the concept of scamming people. What? This is crazy. When people love each other, and look how they want, and not as the realium dictates, who are we to say no? I think it's beautiful. Yeah, that part? Sure enough. But not the earlier part. Like, what? This seems pretty disjointed and nonsensical. It was time to get to work. Okay, I'm back. I had to let the dog out. So... incoming call. Someone was sensing me. It turned out to be a man called Jeffrey Haggis. I didn't know him. Nevertheless, I answered.
Please come to me. I'll tell you everything when you're here.
Oh, you're there. Please come see me. Blue Whale's Interactive Tower, level 255, south entrance. I'll tell you everything when you're here. Well, I guess I'll ask some details. Inquire about details. Could you tell me some more information? I told you need to get here first. Okay, in such case, with no info being provided, just some guy telling me to go somewhere, I think negotiating a down payment is not such a bad idea. Because it would act as some sort of insurance. Hold on, let's have a little respect for each other's time. I don't know anything about the case, and I'm not sure whether a certain amount... I get it, you want a down payment. I'm transferring it now, I hope it's enough. Yes? Great, I'm waiting. He disconnected. Well, I got some cash out of it at least. There's an answering machine.
Delete this, you get this. You know who it is. Ingress. That deletion I saw the other day and think they were at Empress. I went back up that alley that I mentioned where I saw the shady bus moving, and I got to the point where they'd stopped and started doing some fishing around afterwards, and I found a data vault. Fairly certain I'm being followed, okay? I'm in over my head. Just meet me at the usual spot. Okay? The bar. There should be a skin with 3 limbs. To them, and when I see you, I'll tell you what I found when you just hurry, please.
Okay, it's a little annoying how there's no... I don't think this is even something that I can control. Because I didn't understand the entirety of it, to be honest. Like, there was something about finding a data vault and possibly being followed, but the details of it do kind of escape me, which is rather annoying. Okay, it's a computer, holovision, bliss. And that's basically the chair that you use to connect to virtual reality. A virtual couch made by Surfer Industries. Not one of their newest models, but it was still reliable. At least I thought it was. A poet would call it a gateway to the sensory worlds. To me, it was just a tool of my trade. Well, what have I been doing recently? Check the couch log. June 17th, 2199. My last session took... The couch showed an error message and a suggestion to restore default settings. Maybe Surfer Industries couches weren't as reliable as I thought. The thing's glory days were long gone. Gamedecs shouldn't skimp out on things like these. It was time to consider buying a new one. Look at the helmet. It was starting to fall apart. I needed to replace it. Damn it, such important gear wouldn't come cheap. I couldn't afford it at the moment. I needed a few jobs first, or one big job that paid well. Check the fluid level. Fluid levels were low. I still had a few tanks left, but it's always good to have reserves. Yeah, basically the fluid is for keeping you alive. It's feeding you, because people spend days in those sensory worlds. So it's basically, I think it's intravenous. It's basically keeping you alive as you run around that different virtual reality. Yeah, I guess I could order more. Done. The delivery drone should be here in a few hours. Well, what's on my computer? My computer, it controlled the couch, communicated with the household appliances, let me send messages and did everything else. It was old and could use an upgrade, but it still worked well enough to be reliable. Well, what's on my mail? A few emails from clients I had helped. I needed to reply to those. Sure. First message. Senator Stone was grateful for working out what his daughter was doing in Into the Dungeon 1337. Yeah, I guess I could offer a discount for the next contract, because that would be sort of pulling more business my way. The email was a great opportunity to ensure his continued patronage. I offered him a discount for the next case he'd bring my way. I got through the other emails quickly. Some were invitations to events and others were spam. I replied. Okay, what about contracts? I already had one contract, but it wouldn't hurt to check. Maybe there would be another one. It was my lucky day. Mr. Gamedeck, come play Crying Guns with us. It's a lot of fun, and we may not be able to pay you, but... Bunch of kids. I didn't want to deal with that. So, the contract from Haggis was the best thing I could give my attention to. What's on the net? A new case. I wonder if anything would surface on the net. Yeah, look up that guy. Who was Jeffrey Haggis? The director of programming department at Blue Whales Interactive. Wife Eleanor, son Frederick, Fredo to his friends. His assets are recorded in 8-figure amounts. This was all I could find. What about Blue Whales Interactive? Blue Whales Interactive, or BWI, the leader in the field of AI, their flagship product, the dating game Paradise Beach. A little less known, but still popular was the game Knight's Code, a clan battle game based on medieval Japan. So why is it a Knight's Code rather than Bushido or like I guess it's like Knights as a they are sort of rather intrinsically linked, I think, culturally speaking and also linguistically speaking. I'm also pretty sure. Well, that latter part is obvious because that's an English word, but you know, it doesn't make you think of Japan. Like when you're trying to describe medieval Japan, I don't think you would use the word knight to describe, you know, the armed combatants of that region and that era. They made luxury helmets, and ladies and gentlemen, they could make human beings. Their Pygmalion upgraded AIs mimicked human psyches. What about games? Read gossip. It was time to catch up on some game gossip. Spicy comments about the new NPCs in Paradise Beach. Other than that, nothing interesting. Now, this is a little annoying and stupid, because this doesn't work, I don't think, in English. When you... like... because... that's how you would phonetically... that's how you could phonetically read NPC in Polish. And that's why it is this way. It was this way in the book as well. But it doesn't roll... because wouldn't it be NPEX in... like, I don't think it works in English. Check the dark web. I checked the dark web for something juicier. An almost fatal accident in Happy Hunting Grounds. How gory. A creepy clown in Twisted and Perverted who harassed players about a virus outbreak. Odd but not surprising. And that was about it. What about games, Void Stars? I earned in several games... What? What does it mean? I earned in several games, but was recently focused on one, Void Stars, still in development, even though it had already been released. It was supposed to be bigger than all other previous space simulations, though it was hard to imagine. I already bought a few ships, I just couldn't help myself. They were damn expensive, but what the hell. I loved looking at my fleet. Is it a joke about Star Citizen? Because obviously Star Citizen has been coming out for I don't know how long, but very long, and it is supposed to be like the biggest space game that ever space gamed, and also it has ships, in game, sold for real money, kind of deal. Read the news. Welcome to the Void. We know you want to play, and so do we. Unfortunately, we're carrying out a maintenance check, so we can constantly improve. We'll be back soon. Too bad. I could have done with some flying. Browse my fleet. I entered the hangar. Where was the spawn all ships option? I found and selected it. What a beautiful view, starting from the lightest vessels, Flyrock and Interceptor spacecraft, Slidehawk and Assault Unit, Orca, an infantry-carrying dropship, the gunship Giant, and 2 jewels in the crown, Corsair, a big exploration ship, and Skywalk, a merchant vessel, as solid as it was bulky, beauties all of them. The Vulture X would really make this collection shine. Yeah, I really don't think I should buy new virtual ships right now. I'm not like super rich or anything. Okay, what's on the TV?
Breaking news.
Warsaw City news, the latest domestic and international news all day long. Today is Monday, July the 17th. My name is Gina Gord, and this is the news. Ken Zhu, the young star of Goodabats, lost the game miserably. Zhu blames everything on glitches in the game. Could this be the end of the youngster's career? I don't know. Do I get different news if I watch it? Researchers from Warsaw City Institute of Epidemiology have discovered a strange emergence pattern of new virulent bacteria strains. It happens every fall. At this point, it's not clear whether the strains originate outside from the ABBs or in the Undercity. All inhabitants of the polis are encouraged to check their vaccination calendar against an updated MCC database regularly. Humanity is entering the era of immortality. While it is true that BLBs are still quite expensive, it's surely only a matter of time. The Young Mind Therapy Center has its finger on the pulse and seeks to meet the new expectations of its clients. Its new program aims to cleanse the psyche of childhood trauma. Who would want to live forever but be forced to revisit the same issues? The latest Miss Muscle contest was won by our local bodybuilder, Chloe Starr, who dominated the field with her perfect figure. Thanks to her measurements, the Miss Muscle Gold Standard, she finished first and won a pro card. Congratulations. The Russian giant, Frek Noir Heavy Industries, continues to expand. The company just completed a takeover of yet another promising enterprise. This time it was Ravenclaw, a developer of mutation technology that allows a person to grow an extra pair of hands. Oh well, the business world is a jungle after all, and not even an extra pair of hands will help you. Eat or be eaten. Apps that accelerate thought processes are getting more and more popular. D-runners, police units composed of diginates using those programs, are becoming teenage idols. How about you? Do you know how to accelerate your thinking? If not, better hurry or you'll get left behind. More and more people leave Earth for Gaia. A comparative study found that as high as 2% of our society, mostly lower middle class, would like to move there. The immigrants are most likely looking for better pay and prospects for the future. We have all been marveling at the Morbriums from Interscope's Corporation. Partial type Morbriums have made their debut on the market, and Zoenet Labs shocked the masses with a completely new design called a Genskin. A Genskin looks and metabolizes like a human. If not for a battery and the artificial skeleton, perhaps it would be an actual human. Skeptics claims that Genskins, similarly to organic bodies, have multiple limitations and won't succeed on the market. Well, time will tell. Researchers... okay, so it circles now. What's Bliss? The control panel for the apartment's AI, a fine piece of software that didn't treat fridge contents as its first priority. You can also talk to it. Its name is Bliss. That's the default name, and I never bothered to change it. Oh. Aspects are parts of a Gamedec's personality expressed through actions, thoughts and emotions. Be kind to gain the empathy aspect, inspire someone to gain inspiration, etc. Aspects are grouped into 4 personality types: decisive red, analytical blue, creative yellow, and sociable green. Professions unlock special conversation options, enabling you to do more. Hover your cursor over a profession to see its description. Each profession requires a different personality. The description will indicate which aspect unlocks a given profession. A profession will be highlighted if you have the required aspects. Click and hold the left mouse button on a profession to unlock it. Okay, so I could upgrade this. You're well versed in both virtual and real technologies. You know where to look for power nodes, cables, and virtual developer stacks. You can open them, hack them, and change their settings. Or I could buy this. A scalpel. You know how to communicate with medibots and how to stop a hemorrhage or stabilize the wounded. You can use medical equipment, you recognize disease symptoms and life-threatening conditions, you don't panic when someone loses consciousness, and you can perform CPR. Okay, so that I could be like a medic. That seems to suit me fine. I'll go for this. Okay, so it detracts from my points. It costs them. Okay, deduction. The main notes are questions that are key to your deduction process in solving your case. Gather information and choose answers based on that information to unlock nodes until you reach the final conclusion. Okay, obviously I don't have a case yet. Codex. Okay, so it's a whole codex with the information on the game. I think I'm going to make like separate episodes where I read that, because you can see how there's a lot of it, and I understand. First of all, it's going to take a lot of time, and I understand not everyone is going to be interested in it because it's very sort of info dumpy, exposition heavy kind of deal. So I'll just make a separate episode once upon a time where I read the codex. For now, activate the system. A logo with 2 whales appears on the panel. Thank you for purchasing a product manufactured by Blue Whale Interactive, the leader in the field of AI. BWI, never alone. You're activating Bliss for the first time. To start, configure the software to your liking. What are you talking about? How is it for the first time? I seemingly have been living here for a bit at least. Damn, Oh, something had reset my settings. Probably another failure in the tower or surge upstairs. I had to reconfigure everything again. Check the logs. There was nothing in the system. Logs of previous activations and conversations would be in the cloud, provided they existed. Probably something on the Blue Whale's interactive server, too high of a bar for me. You had to be a real magician to access them. A casual conversation. A holographic figure appeared in the air.
Hello, I'm Bliss. How can I serve you?
What would you like to talk about? Wait, what do you mean? Don't you remember me? Why does everything break all the time nowadays? Well, I can't fix it because I don't have the necessary skill, so I guess that's it. Okay, I guess I'm leaving then. Because I can't get here, right? Yeah. Solid doors protected me and my apartment, or maybe they protected Warsaw City from me. Well, let's go to my client.
The director's office is behind that door. Mr. Haggis is expecting you.
Okay. Did the game save? It did. So, you know what? Because I can't save manually, right? And it's getting kind of late. So I think I'm going to end this first episode right here. And then I'll proceed to talk with the client next time. For now, that's all for this one. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.